Um, so we've been studying this mimer, and it's every topic in Torah and every topic in Judaism. The Alter Rebbe leads back to loving Hashem, fearing Hashem, and doing His mitzvahs. Right? The only question of how do we get there. So we started talking about Ner Chanukah, the fact that the festival of Hanukkah is celebrated unlike any other Yom Tov. The celebration of the Yom Tov is through candles. So Purim, of course, was a physical thing against the Jewish people. And so we have a physical, it was against the Jewish body. And so we have a physical celebration, Su'uda of Purim. Pesach as well. We have, eating matzah and other things where we actually eat. There was a liberation of the Jewish people. It was much more of a physical event, whereas unusually, we talk about all of our problems and calamities through the ages. Hanukkah was one story that actually took place when we were in Israel, right? We were in Eretz Yisrael. We were on our land, but that land was taken or conquered. It was taken by the Greeks, and then the Greeks were oppressing us and giving us problems. And they weren't trying to kill the Jewish people. They were trying to kill Yiddishkeit. They were trying to kill Judaism, which is a spiritual thing, and thus the celebration is with candles. Then the Alter Rebbe says, to understand all of this, let's go into understanding what this candle lighting is really about. So we go into the source material in the Chumash, where we talk about the fact of the lighting of the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. And the Jewish people are compared as we read in the Haftorah of Sukkot, the Jewish people are a menorah, and in two respects. Respect number one is that the menorah was one piece of solid gold, and the Yidden are all together as one. And this is particularly referring to the source of the Jewish people in our spiritually, the place where we are at in our spiritual source, which is Malchus in Atzilus. So in that place where all of the souls of the Jewish people are as one, we are one, perfectly one entity. And that entity branches off into 7 different directions, and 7 are the 7 emotional levels, and each of those emotional levels contain 10, the 10 sfirot, 10 different, how we say, conscious powers of intellect and emotion. And so we have 70, and those are the 70 souls of the Jewish people when we left Canaan with Yaakov to go down to Egypt. So we were 70 souls. So that we see that as being a source number for the Jewish people, and that's associated with the menorah. And then the Alter Rebbe gets into the idea of the lighting of the menorah, right? So the lighting of the menorah, there were 2 parts to it. There was the setting up and cleaning of the menorah. It says that Aaron cleaned behetivo et haneros. He set up and arranged in the morning. And then in the afternoon, towards the evening, in the afternoon, then he kindled the menorah. So we didn't get to understanding what those 2 aspects are just yet, but the Alter Rebbe explains that the whole idea of the lighting of the menorah through Aaron, the high priest, this is the idea of igniting the flame of the Jewish people to love God. And this is the idea of the spiritual idea behind the people that we speak of in the Torah. It's not just a story, but these people become spiritual guides and mentors to assist us in our Jewish work even today. So Aaron is still there endeavoring to illuminate the love in the heart of the Jewish people. So that brings us to loving Hashem. And here in the Maimer, we're going into that to some degree. So let's go back to the Maimer. And so we were speaking here about a love of God. And he was speaking about different things that one can contemplate to come to a love of God. The realization that Hashem himself is above and beyond anything that we could possibly imagine. And any great thing that we can see of Hashem, like if you look at the universe, right? That's a pretty astounding thing, right? Hashem created the universe, but that's not what makes Hashem great. In order for Hashem to create the universe, he had to, so to speak, minimize himself greatly until he could bring himself down to such a level where he would create the universe. And then when we realize that Hashem is so high and above and beyond, that a person automatically will become excited and inflamed with the soul and the heart to experience the love of Hashem, b'chol nafshecha, with all of your soul, literally to want to leave the limitations of the world and experience only Hashem. So we're talking here about a very lofty level where you say, the only thing I want is Hashem. You know, we could talk about many different ways of doing Judaism, of why we serve Hashem. And we can come up with many good reasons for why we serve Hashem. Anybody have any good reasons why we serve God?
He keeps us alive.
He keeps us alive so we can serve Hashem because it's kind of the least we can do.
Yiras Shamayim.
Yiras Shamayim, we're aware of the presence of God in the world. And sometimes people even serve God because, you know, there's going to be reward in the world to come.
To avoid the punishment.
To avoid the punishment in the world to come.
Susan says to preserve Yiddishkeit.
Preserve Yiddishkeit, right? So the Alter Rebbe says there's a much higher level of service when you really realize who and what God really is. It really could call out from our soul this idea that I don't want a reward. I don't want to, it's not a question of, living a life in this world, or even preserving Yiddishkeit or fear of Hashem. What it is because I just want Hashem himself. And this is what he says in the verse here from Tehillim, who do I have with me in the heavens besides for Hashem? And beside for you, Hashem, I don't want anything on earth. My flesh and my heart yearn for you. So it's explained in Kabbalistic writings that when we say earth, it's actually referring to Olam Haba, to the world to come. So this idea of this perfect love of Hashem was something that the Rebbe would oftentimes quote, and it's in Hayom Yom, which I'm bringing up here. You guys can see the screen with Hayom Yom. Let me do the proper screen share. So this is the Hayom Yom for the very last day on the Chassidic calendar, the day of the 18th of Kislev. So the Tzemach Tzedek writes, the love expressed in this verse that we just quoted, that besides you I wish for nothing, V'imcha lo chafatzti, basically, means that one should desire nothing other than Hashem. Not even heaven or earth. That is the higher Gan Eden or the lower Gan Eden. For these were created with the mere yud of God's name. So if it's just a mere yud of God's name, that's just the name of God. Do we want a name of God or do we want Hashem himself? To be sure, so much of what we do in Judaism is about drawing down the name of God. And we talk a lot about the name of God. On that day, Hashem will be one and his name will be one. And we say, Baruch Hashem. We even refer to God as Hashem, meaning the name, right? Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, blessed is he, blessed is his name. But nevertheless, we understand that, there's the way to relate to somebody. There's the way to relate to somebody because of what that person does for you. Right? And sometimes, of course, a person could help you financially or give you a job or be a great person and you're impressed by them and you like having a relationship with them, or the person did you favors, or they're always nice to you, they're nice to talk to, or a person that you love and you feel so good when you're in their presence, you love them so much. There could be a lot of good reasons to be with people and relate to people, right? But all of that has to do not with who the person really is, but how that person relates to you. It's not about who you are, but it's about what you do for me. Even on a spiritual level, I love that man so much because he teaches me so much Torah, and he's so kind, and he's so nice, and it all has to do with how that person relates to me, which isn't terrible. But yes, like what Susan is saying here, that with God, we want to transcend all of that. This is a very high level of love that the Alter Rebbe is referring to here. There are many different levels. The Alter Rebbe talks in Likutei Torah, and Tanya talks about many, many different levels of love. This is the highest level, where it's not about any experience. I don't want an experience of God. I want God himself. I don't want God's name. I don't want anything. I want God himself. And that's what this Hayom Yom is saying. Let's go back to the Hayom Yom that expresses this. The love is to be directed to him alone, to his very being in essence. This was actually expressed by my master and teacher, the Alter Rebbe, when he was in a state of devekut, as he exclaimed as follows. So the Alter Rebbe would say, Ich will ze garnist. I don't want anything at all. I don't want your Gan Eden. I don't want your Olam Haba. I want nothing but you alone. That's all I want. I just want God. And this is the highest level of service. It's interesting. Even the Rambam alludes to this in where he writes about that talks about Abraham's love for God. And he says that you have to love God, not because of what God is going to do for you, because you're going to get a reward, but rather you have to love him because you love God, and then the good is going to come. But this is a lofty level. It is a lofty meditation. But this is the love that is meant to be, that Aaron ignites in the soul through lighting the menorah. And this is the meaning when it says, when we say in the Shema every day, twice a day, V'ahavta, and you shall love Hashem, your God. Now the word ahava, as you see here, aleph hey beis hey, comes from the word aleph beis hey. Has anybody ever seen the word aleph beis hey in the Torah? Ava. It means desire and will. It says in Parshas Kiseitze, Lo ava Hashem lishmoa el Bilam. God didn't want to listen to Bilam. So the word ahava is constructed from the word ava, not to be confused with Eva, which is similar but different. Meaning the person has a strong inner desire that Hashem should be his God by actually connecting with him. And through this arousal from below of the person, this causes that the light of this love should shine into him from above. In other words, a person needs to want to have this love in order for the light to shine into him from above. There's a certain level of love of God that we can come to on our own, or that we can manufacture, and the work that we can do to love Hashem. But our capacity is limited. Our ability is limited. Our ability to love is limited. But then there's the level of love that comes from above, and that is unlimited, as we'll soon see. So first we have the arousal from below of the person. This causes that the light of this love should shine into him. So then there's a reciprocation that the light shines into him from above, which causes to make even greater the intense flaming love of Hashem in his heart, more than he would be able to arouse with his own human capacity, and more than the ability he receives from the source of his soul. Since his soul is also the category of limited finite creation. What Alter Rebbe is saying here is that you can have a love that you can, he's talking about three different levels of love here. I don't know if you caught. Anybody catch here 3 levels of love? We have on the one hand the love, I think about God and I want to connect to Hashem. It's the love that I work on to feel myself. Then we have, the Alter Rebbe doesn't talk about it here, he just kind of references it. We have an innate love in our neshama. Our neshama has an innate love for God. And as we've spoken about before, our purpose is to make sure to uncover that love. To do what we can to uncover that love. But then there is the love that shines into our heart from above, from Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe says, whatever love we can conjure with our own feeling is going to be limited. Even the love in our neshama is going to be limited, because the soul is a limited, finite entity. But then when Hashem reciprocates by causing us to feel his infinite love, this causes him to literally come close to Hashem and to surrender his whole ego literally to Hashem. This shine of the light of love of Hashem from above comes into him through the level of Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, who represents the unlimited kindness of Hashem higher than Hatzilus. Wow. So Aaron is, in this sense, he is a facilitator. He is a facilitator of love. He facilitates the infinite love coming from Hashem into our hearts, that we should become totally swept away by Hashem and egoless and desire only to connect with Hashem. Who draws that love into our heart? Aaron. How does he draw that love into our heart? Through the lighting of the menorah. That's what the lighting of the menorah symbolizes. Igniting the flame, igniting the infinite love that we have, that we receive from above to connect with Hashem. So this idea that there are two levels of love of Hashem, meaning there's the love from below that we have and the love that shines into us from above, is expressed in the fact that the word ve'ahavta, and you should love Hashem, has the same numerical value as 2 times the word or. So if you take, for those of you that appreciate the gematria, the math, so v'ahavta is going to be 6, that's the vav, plus 1, aleph, 5 is the hey, beis is 2, and then taf is going to be 400. Okay, do we have any mathematicians here? That's pretty easy math here. That equals 214. Ve'ahavta. Now, if you take the word or aleph vav resh, that's going to be 1 plus 6 plus 200. Oh, sorry, not 214. Nobody corrected me. 414, of course. 1 or aleph plus 6 plus 200 equals 207. So 207 plus 207 equals 414. That is the numeric value. So v'ahavta, we say, you said v'ahavta this morning in the Shema, right? To love Hashem your God. That word, v'ahavta, through gematria, contains within it 2 levels of light.
Can you say those gematrias again? Oops. You push the erase button.
Yeah. V'ahavta is 414. 414 divided by 2 is 207. 207 is the numeric value, the gematria of or. So or times 2 equals v'ahavta.
The Alter Rebbe's name was Shnei Or.
True. So how's that connected?
2 times Or.
So the Alter Rebbe was v'ahavta.
I don't know, must be.
So the problem is that, you can't, it sounds very close, but I don't think that there's an association between the Alter Rebbe and v'ahavta. I mean, he teaches about it an awful lot. The reason the Alter Rebbe, that the reason that the Rebbe explains that the Alter Rebbe had 2 times light, that has to do with the light of the Torah. And he was talking about the light of the halacha, the light of the revealed Torah, and the light of the inner Torah. So Shnei Or represents the fact that the Alter Rebbe was a master and teacher in both areas of Torah. Torah is Or. How do we know that Torah is Or? Because it says Ner Mitzvah, the Torah, Or. Right? You can't, it becomes it becomes difficult when you can't associate that with this. This is a different thing, okay? That's what I'm saying. It doesn't always connect, even though it looks like it would connect. Okay. So there's 2 levels of light going on here, meaning the light of the neshama, your own love that you can conjure, that you can develop. And then there's the reciprocal light of God that God shines into your heart. This higher level of love is referred to as he will improve the menorah. He will improve the light. Vehetivo et hanerot. He will improve set up the candles. It's not really a lighting. So it's not a lighting of the candles. It is a setting up of the candles. Right? Because the candles weren't lit in the morning. They were set up. And the word that's used for that setup is lehetiv, which comes from the word tov, to make them good. Is referred to as he will improve and he says and light up, but it doesn't mean and light up. It just means that he will improve them and set them up. Just again, if we take a look at the in the Chumash where this is brought, because sometimes, if I'm arguing with the translation, at least I should give you a source. Now, who knows? Maybe I'll find that I'm wrong. Anybody want to donate to Safaria? No? Okay. Behetivo. It only comes up in the Torah in this context. Place it in front of the curtain that is over the ark of the pact, of the testimony, in front of the cover. Okay. He's talking about the placement of the incense altar, and it says, on it Aaron shall burn aromatic incense. On the menorah? No. On the incense altar, he shall burn it every morning when he tends the lamps. Behetivo, you see here in the Hebrew, behetivo es haneros. When he tends to the lamps. I don't think it's the best translation. Oh, look at that. I can find a different one. When he cleans the lamps, right? When he cleans and sets up the lamps. We take a look in Rashi. Behetivo. When he trimmeth. Have you trimmeth today? I don't know. It's, in other words, the word behetivo, we have not seen any two people that translate it the same way yet. But let's see what Rashi says. This word is an expression for cleansing the bowls of the candelabrum from the ashes of the wicks which had burnt out during the night. And he used to clean them out every morning. That's what it is. That's what behetivo is. So behetivo is the cleaning out and setting up of the cleaning out of the menorah. So that's the improvement of the menorah. Now back to our mimer. So not the burning, not the kindling of it, but behetivo is, but nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe is saying that this behetivo is referring to a high and lofty love of God coming from God's goodness. That's the association with the word behetivo, tov, the goodness of Hashem. So from the goodness and kindness of above, Hashem bestows this love on the humble spirit, the humble spirited, to improve and make greater the love that was aroused by the person from below. But why is it happening first? I guess it follows after the lighting of the menorah. But anyway, let's take a look at this the commentary from Rabbi Katz. The word behetivro literally means when he makes better, improves. On a simple level, this means that in the morning, Aaron had to make the menorah better by cleaning it out from the ashes of the burned oil of the previous night before relighting it, but he didn't relight it in the morning. Okay. Thus, he had to make the menorah better and cleaner, and he did not light it. Again, a correction of this text. On a mystical level, the Alter Rebbe is explaining the phrase to mean that Aaron, which represents Hashem's limitless kindness, makes better our menorah, our love of Hashem, by adding an infinitely deeper dimension to it through a revelation from above. And that's what he's talking about. What he's talking about is that when we work on developing our love for God, God reciprocates by sending down this other greater love. But now we're going to go into the love that we work on from below. And even here, we're going to see that there are different levels. Now, the truth is, the Alter Rebbe continues, is that even the arousal from below described above, that a person awakens himself to desire to connect to Hashem himself. Well, guess what, boys and girls? This ability is also a gift of Hashem, and is not according to the natural ability of the person, according to his inborn characteristics. So now he's kind of changing the script. He's saying, even the fact that we can think about things to conjure our love for Hashem, this is also a gift from Hashem. And it's not in the natural toolkit, shall we say, of human capability. This level of love of Hashem is referred to as Aaron will bring up the fire of the lamps of the menorah. So even this, Aaron has to light the menorah to allow us to even work on ourselves, to work on developing our love for Hashem. Even this is coming from Aaron, the high priest. All of this, it's an interesting thing in rabbinic literature that the Alter Rebbe could have taught this discourse without referring to the verse. He could have just told us what Aaron does, right? And what the love is about, and how we are meant to manufacture our own love, and how there's a gift from above. But everything in rabbinic literature, and Chassidus, of course, included, it's always going to go back to the verse. So that everything becomes tethered in the Torah and in the pasuk of the Torah. What was the pasuk of the Torah? Does anybody remember what the pasuk of the Torah was talking about? A two-step process in the menorah. The first was done in the morning, which was the arranging it, cleaning it out, behetivo. And then later, in late afternoon, it was the halos, when he would lift up the flame and ignite it. And both of them were done by Aaron. Now again, technically speaking, it was done by a Kohen. Okay, it didn't have to be Aaron, but the Torah talks about Aaron lighting the menorah. The Torah refers to Aaron lighting the menorah, right? Why is that? And in fact, why should the Torah be saying Aaron lighting the menorah, right? It should say Aaron uvanav. Many places in the Torah it refers to Aaron and his sons. And then clearly it doesn't have to be done by the Kohen Gadol. But there's an important reason. Because we're not just talking about the lighting of the physical menorah. We're talking about the lighting of the spiritual menorah, our neshama. And that is being done by Aharon, Kohen Gadol. That is being done by Aaron, the high priest. You see. And it's a two-part process. So the Alter Rebbe kind of changed the story here a little bit in the middle. And now he's saying that even to conjure a love in our heart for Hashem through thinking and contemplating, this is also because Aaron ignites the menorah towards the evening. He lights the menorah. And then the next morning, Behetivo, that is the higher level. The love the reciprocal love that comes down from Hashem. So this all goes back to the explanation of the pasuk. So the Alter Rebbe explains this level of love of Hashem is referred to as Aaron will bring up, in other words, ignite the fire of the lamp of the menorah, meaning that the level of Aaron as it exists above, as Hashem's kindness beyond Atzilus, this gives the power to the Jewish people to be able to arouse this love for Hashem through their effort during prayer.
Rabbi?
Yes, please.
Can you explain the distinction between the curved candelabras and the ones where the candle holders go out straight from the base at an angle?
Yes. Do me a favor. Remind me towards the end of the class. We'll do that, okay?
Okay.
Because it's not germane to this discourse, but I'm happy to address it. So towards the end of the class, we'll get back to that. So please remind me, okay?
When you mentioned the bending, that's what brought it to my mind.
Yes, yes. Okay. So the word uvahalos literally means when we will make something go up, and on a simple level is referring to the flame kindled on the menorah that once lit, right, it continues to burn and go up by itself. Thus, Aharon causes the flames to go up by themselves. On a mystical level, this means that through Aharon, Hashem's limitless kindness, in other words, Aaron is a metaphor, so to speak, of Hashem's limitless kindness, we receive the power to awaken a love for Hashem through our own efforts and prayer, like the flames that continue to go up by themselves. And this is the meaning of when he would do this. This is the meaning of saying that Aaron will bring up the fire of the lamps of the menorah, specifically when? In the evening, Bein Ha'arbayim, when it is spiritually evening and night and dark by itself, that there is no divine light. So in other words, meaning, when a person is spiritually dark and doesn't experience the light of love of Hashem, then Hashem gives that person the power to arouse a love for him, just like Aaron lit the menorah for its flames to go up by themselves. So this is the work of Aaron. The spiritual level of Aaron represents this high level of this divine gift that allows us to work on our love of God. And when we work on our love of God, again, there's the higher level of Behetivo, where it becomes exponentially broadened. However, when it is spiritually morning, which corresponds to the aspect of Abraham, who represents kindness, as it's written, and Avram got up early in the morning, showing how Avram kindness is connected to the morning, right? And Avram got up in the morning and he established the shacharit, the morning prayer. So Avram represents this whole idea of morning and kindness, because that's the time of revelation of divine light. Then comes the aspect of, so in the morning comes the aspect of he will improve and light up the menorah. This means that when someone has already reached a level of spiritual mourning and revelation of Hashem and experiences a love of Hashem through his own effort, then Hashem sends a different revelation, a higher revelation from above to improve and magnify his existing love. The revelation that empowers the person to awaken love of Hashem with his own effort is not a revelation in a revealed way. It is just giving him the potential to arouse his love. So in other words, the lower level of love is not a revelation. It's like coaching advice. It's giving us what we need to be able to do it on our own. Whereas the morning love, the morning revelation is Hashem's open, revealed love to beyond any boundaries. Now, some of you are asking this question. Now, someone can ask himself, who is able to reach such a level that the level of Aaron as it exists above should reach him? So, in other words, the Rebbe here is saying, putting it in more modern and less refined words, the Alter Rebbe is saying, who are we kidding? Who are we kidding? Really? All of these high and lofty, these exotic levels of love, I think particularly referring to this high level of love, this high level of love coming from above in the morning and revelation and without any limitation coming from beyond the world of Tzilus. Who are we kidding? So the Alter Rebbe is now going to answer who we are kidding. No, we're not kidding. What we're seriously talking about. The answer is that it is possible for every Jew through Torah and mitzvahs. This goes back to what Yisrael is not here this week. But last week he said, how can we love Hashem? Through doing his mitzvahs. We study Torah, we do his mitzvahs. That's how we love Hashem. Do you remember? I called that the fiddler on the roof level of love. Right? For 25 years, I cleaned the house, cooked your dinner, right? Took the dog out. If that's not love, what is? There's a level of love of Hashem because we do his mitzvahs. So the answer is that it is possible for every Jew through the Torah and mitzvahs he performs. This is because the mitzvah is a ner, a lamp, meaning that the mitzvahs come from a very lofty level from Hashem's essential will, and therefore it is not possible to understand them at all. The analogy for this is the oil of the lamp, as explained above, how the oil itself doesn't directly produce the light, but it is the ultimate source, right? It's the fuel for the fire. Therefore, the connection Therefore, the connection to Hashem's accomplished accomplished through the mitzvahs doesn't something inside the person's soul. Some words are missing here in English. Therefore, it doesn't enter inside the person on an inner level. Rather, it encompasses the person from above, right? In other words, what he's saying here, in simple terms, we don't necessarily experience a conscious level of love or excitement when we're doing the mitzvahs. But subconsciously, we do. In other words, subconsciously means we don't feel it, we don't sense it, we don't know where it is. But it is encompassing us so that subconsciously we are totally consumed in this love of Hashem. Rather, it encompasses the person from above in a hidden manner, I would say, like subconscious or unconscious level. Like it's written in Devarim, you should place over yourself a king. meaning that just like the physical king rules over the people and is exalted above them, and they fulfill his will, even if they don't understand the reason, simply because it is commanded of the king. And the heart of the kings cannot be fathomed, meaning the reasoning behind why the command certain things is beyond our understanding. So too, Hashem is our king. He gives us the mitzvahs that must be performed regardless of our understanding. In fact, Hashem's mitzvahs are completely beyond understanding entirely. However, even though the mitzvahs are beyond understanding, nevertheless, they accomplish a connection with Hashem. This is by way of analogy like a person who holds the king by one of his limbs, by his hand, and brings him close to himself. By doing so, he draws to himself the life which is inside the king too. The Alter Rebbe uses this analogy many times, that the mitzvot become the limbs, the veritable limbs of Hashem himself. And so we are connecting ourselves and grabbing on to the limbs of Hashem, so to speak. So too it's written regarding Hashem's mitzvahs. I think this is it. This is the end of the mimer. So we'll continue with this paragraph here. Since the 248 active mitzvahs are called in the Tikkunei Zohar, the 248 limbs of the king, meaning that through the person's fulfilling the mitzvahs, he automatically also draws down the oneness of Hashem himself, as this true oneness is described above in the mimer. So Rabbi Katz explains it's just like someone who hugs his friend or the king also hugs and connects to the person's very soul, not just his body. When you hug a person, you got the whole person there, right? Even though the connection isn't based on understanding, so too when we perform a mitzvah, we may not understand it, but we're receiving that manifestation of Hashem in this physical world. It gives us the ability to receive the light of love and prayer, first through our own efforts, and then through the love that's coming from above. So practically speaking, it's kind of funny because Yisrael had mentioned last week, because I said, how do we reach this love? And he said, through Torah and mitzvahs. That's kind of the conclusion that the Alter Rebbe says. We can work on developing our love, and this is good. This is a wonderful thing to do. But at the end of the day, we have this love because we're doing Hashem's will, we're doing his mitzvahs, we're studying his Torah. Okay. Now, Penina asked a question about the shape of the menorah, and it's perfect. We just finished the discourse. God willing, next week we'll start a new one. So we know. So what was your question, Penina? Why don't you reiterate your question? Oh, you have to
Rabbi?
unmute. Yes.
Is this a good time to ask a question about
Yeah.
the curve
Yes,
and the
please.
straight spokes on the candelabra?
Yes.
So if you could answer it, I appreciate
So
it.
what exactly was your question?
Well, my ordinary Hanukkah, they usually have, or you see, like, for example, in front of one of our rabbis' homes, a candelabra which has candle holders that are curving. But on the other hand, many have them arranged in such a way so that they come out as an angle from the base of the candelabra, straight rather than curved.
Right.
And I think there's supposed to be a reason, and I don't know.
Right. Which one do you like better?
Well, from the aesthetic point of view, the curved one appeals to me more.
Right. A curved is always going to be more aesthetic, right? Curves contain a certain aesthetics that straight lines don't. But then some people like avant-garde, which is going to be much more with straight lines. I'm kidding. That's true, but nevertheless. Okay, so let me explain what this is all about. So first of all, we must understand, we must know that The Hanukkah menorah that we light has 8 branches plus 1 for the shamish, and whether it's curved or whether it's straight or whether it's, all different kinds of designs are kosher. As long as the candles are all, you can't have one going up and down. There's different reasons for it. There's some designs are not going to be kosher, but curved or straight branches, as long as the candles end up on the same line, everything is 100% kosher. There's no menorah that's more kosher than the other. But now let me answer your question. Our menorahs are based off of, the miracle of Hanukkah is based off of the menorah in the temple, in the Beit HaMikdash, right? Now here comes the real question. The menorah in the Beit HaMikdash, were the branches curved or were they straight? So if I do a Google search, what do I come up with? Several curved ones and one straight. Which one was it? So
Rabbi?
even yeah. Mhm.
I'm sorry. The ones in the temple, I understand were curved. According to, this is what I heard from Rabbi Eli Mansour. I don't want to quote him exactly because I'm not in a position to, but I mean, from what I heard him say, it was something, they were more curved. Our own had something connection with this. I don't know, but it's like it curved. The menorah is curved, even though they may have been straight, but they curved. There was a spiritual curvature to it, I'm not sure exactly, because it sounds to me it was of that dimension.
Okay. So there are going to be, so the Lubavitcher Rebbe, where this all comes from, is that the Lubavitcher Rebbe made a big deal out of this back in the 80s. And he said that
Rambam.
He brought from the Rambam, of course. The Rambam clearly depicts the temple menorah as being straight. How do we know that? Because we actually found manuscripts from the Rambam where he had potato print of the menorah with the branches and the other things involved with it. And it seems from Rashi as well, who says that the branches went up diagonally. So we have these two great one a commentator, one bringing the halacha, that both tell us that the menorah was straight. Now, Rabbi Mansour in his talk brings other rationale, and he even brings why the Rambam maybe didn't mean it like that. Okay? So we have an argument between Rabbi Mansour, who was a good man, good rabbi, great classes, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So there are different opinions out there, okay? But the Rebbe was very clear on the idea that the branches were diagonal, not curved. Add to that, there are a lot of people who would like to bring a proof to the fact that they were curved from the Arch of Titus. Now you saw on the picture that I just shared, you saw the archaeology. I don't have it. Do I have it here? Oh, I accidentally closed it. Sorry. But anyway, there is the Arch of Titus, who was the general that destroyed the temple, the Roman general that destroyed the temple. So they made an arch of a triumphant arch in his honor, and it has depictions of the Jews carrying the temple vessels. And there's a depiction of the menorah, a menorah with curved arms. So the Rebbe said, we don't take our heritage, our religion, our history, and our menorah from a depiction from Roman about a Roman conquest. that's not how we roll. That's not what we do. And even though there is such a depiction, there are many explanations of this. It could have been a different menorah, right? That was the lighting in those days, right? So there could have been a menorah that had rounded branches as well, but the temple menorah was supposed to have been diagonal. Okay, so this is the Rebbe's opinion. Again, not to say that there aren't other opinions. There are other opinions, but the Rebbe was very adamant about the menorah being specifically angular, not rounded. There's also a teaching from Shimshon Raphael Hirsch that also would support this, where he explains that everything in the temple was angular, because everything in nature occurs curvature. Everything in the temple was the way that the human being improves and is mitaken, brings a tikkun to nature. And so everything in the temple was angular. What would that say about the branches? That they were angular. He doesn't say it specifically there, but so Chabad, wanting to promulgate and teach people about the temple menorah, so make the Hanukkah menorahs angular, just as a teaching thing, to teach people to realize that this was the shape of the menorah. It's not required, it doesn't have to be, but it kind of helps people understand that, yeah, oh, maybe the menorah looked like this. But again, the Hanukkah menorah, is there a difference whether you make it straight or angular? Not at all. Chabad, including myself, when we do a public menorah lighting, we like to use a menorah that has this special feature. But again, even then, not all Chabad menorahs are going to be like that. You can look and see different shapes. But there you go. Did I answer your question?
Yes, I think it's especially interesting that the Arch of Tues does have a depiction of a menorah which has curved, and that would have been taken straight from the temple.
Yeah.
If they didn't just make it aesthetically pleasing, because we know Yafet loves aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you all for joining. And do we have a class next week? I'm not sure. I didn't receive I think we do. I don't see why not. So God willing, we will see you here next week, this time.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Well.
Yashik.